Hi there. Today I went to the market and bought myself a solar system. But before I show you what I bought, let's talk a little bit about textbooks. When I was looking through two different books that are accredited for school education, I found these images of the planets and of the solar system. They, like many others, are incredibly misleading. Rarely, if ever, do you find images or models of the solar system that are truly at scale. Today, however, we will do exactly that. We will create our own scale model of the solar system using a few groceries and Google Maps. Let's begin. First, let's bring the size of the planets to scale. If we took our planet that has a diameter of 12,756 kilometers and shrunk it down to 1.27 centimeters, it would be the size of a regular blueberry. The moon would be a small white pepper seed. Mercury would be the size of a small corn seed. Venus would be yet another smaller blueberry, while Mars would be the size of a chickpea. But the real fun begins once we bring in the gas giants. Jupiter would be the size of a small melon. And it would be surrounded by its moons, the bigger of which would be the size of mustard seeds. Saturn, without its rings, would be the size of a pomegranate. Uranus would be the size of a lime. And Neptune would be the size of a big plum, while poor old Pluto will be the size of a coriander seed. Now, if you've already seen images or videos on social media of the size of the planets at scale, this might not impress you that much. Well, hold on to your seat though, because we're just getting started. The real challenge when it comes to building a scale model of the solar system is regarding the distance between the planets and the Sun. Of course, the distance are always changing because of orbits and whatnot, but let's say we take into account the average distance between the planets and the Sun. At this scale, how big would the solar system be? Well, for that, we're going to have to go outside. We are in front of the Romanian Athenaeum here in the center of Bucharest. Bucharest will be our backdrop for our model of the solar system. At the scale presented before, the Sun would be about this big, 140 centimeters in diameter. In comparison, our planet seems incredibly small. But the better question we should ask, how far away are we from the Sun? Well, for that, we're gonna have to start walking. Oh, and by the way, at this scale, a meter is about 1,000,000 kilometers. "58 meters away from the Sun, we find our small corn seed, Mercury. The Messenger spacecraft, launched in 2004, orbited Mercury for 4,000 times in 4 years before exhausting its fuel and crashing on Mercury's surface on the 30th of April, 2015. 108 meters away from the Sun, we find our small blueberry Venus. It has a very dense atmosphere consisting of 96% carbon dioxide. How do we know this? Well, on December 1970, Venera 7, a Soviet spacecraft, entered the atmosphere of Venus. It sent back information for about 53 minutes, 20 minutes actually from Venus's surface. And it found that the temperature on Venus is 475 degrees Celsius. Ouch, that's quite hot. 150 meters away from the Sun, we would find our blueberry of a planet, the Earth. This is our home in the huge void of space and of the solar system. If we were to dedicate hours of documentaries, we wouldn't even scratch the surface in terms of what we can say about our planet. But let's just state that this is the only known host of life in our solar system, a 4.5 billion-year-old planet with a mind-blowing history and diversity of life. 38 centimeters away, we would find our moon, and this represents the furthest distance our species has ever traveled in space. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were the first people to land and walk on the surface of the moon. In total, 24 people have managed to travel this far, and only 12 of them have actually managed to walk on the surface of the moon. Tell me, are you feeling tiny yet? 228 meters away, you would find this small little chickpea, which would be Mars. This is the place that most people think of as being our possible second home. After 6 failed attempts, the first spacecraft to fly by Mars was the Mariner 4 in 1965. Since then, we've sent 11 probes on the surface of the moon, and we've received valuable data from there. And right now, there are 2 operational probes on the surface of Mars, the Curiosity rover and the InSight lander. 300 meters away from the Sun, we would start seeing the beginning of the asteroid belt. At this scale, the biggest asteroids would be fine grains of salt or sand, spread over a huge distance. How huge? Well, it would take us 300 more meters, or 300 million kilometers, to reach the end of the asteroid belt. In this huge void lie thousands of rocks that could end life on Earth as we know it. Luckily, they don't seem to pose any threat in the very near future. "778 meters away, we find our biggest planet, the gas giant Jupiter. Jupiter has around 79 known moons. Ganymede, the bigger of which, has a diameter bigger than that of Mercury, and Europa, which has an icy surface under which we hope to find an ocean that could sustain and harbor extraterrestrial life. Currently, Jupiter is orbited by the Juno probe. In fact, you can actually see where the Juno probe is right now using a special app designed by NASA. If you want to check it out, there's a special link in the description. From here on out, it's getting incredibly lonely out here. 1.42 kilometers away from the Sun, we find Saturn. Luckily, it has 82 moons to keep it company and a ring system of rock debris, icy particles, and dust. In 1979, the first spacecraft that did a flyby around Saturn was the Pioneer 11 that took very detailed pictures of it. Just like Jupiter, Saturn deserves a whole video to talk about itself and its moons, so I'll keep all those details for a future video. We are 2.87 kilometers away from our Sun that is only 140 centimeters tall. This is where we find Uranus. Uranus has 27 moons to keep it company, and so far the only spacecraft that has ever visited it has been the Voyager 2 mission in 1986. "4.5 kilometers away from the Sun, we would find the furthest planet of our solar system, Neptune. Neptune has over 14 moons, and just like Uranus, it was only visited once by our spacecrafts, the Voyager 2 mission in 1989, which managed to take these impressive pictures. Since then, we've only observed Neptune through our space and ground-based telescopes. At this scale, Pluto would be about 5.9 kilometers away from the Sun. It's not a planet anymore, considered by scientists, but I figured it would be worth mentioning. We are now at the very end of the Herostrope Park here in Bucharest, 6 kilometers away from where we started. This is where, on Valentine's Day in 1990, the Voyager 1 mission took an iconic photo of the Earth. It was coined by renowned scientist Carl Sagan as the pale blue dot. As Carl Sagan himself said, "Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in a great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves." The Voyager 1 probe is today around 22.5 billion kilometers away, 22.5 kilometers on our scale, which would mean it would be further away even than the Ottopen Airport, which is about a 30-minute drive from where we started. This makes Voyager 1 the furthest man-made object that has traveled into outer space. This might be a lot to take in. To realize the true scale of the solar system can give you a bit of existential anxiety, or it can even make your brain stop functioning for a while. There is so much to learn about the complexities and immensities of the universe, and today we barely even scratch the surface. However, I invite you to reflect on this perspective. We are nothing but a pale blueberry in a busy Eastern European capital. We've only traveled 38 centimeters away from our home, yet our stubbornness and curiosity has led us over 22 kilometers away. Join me on this learning journey and let's discover together the most fascinating stories about the universe, about what it means to be human, and about the horizons of our curiosity, imagination, and creativity as we look inwards and outwards from ourselves. Leave a like, comment on the most mind-blowing fact that you've discovered today, and make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next videos posted on this channel. My name is Alex Glod, your neighborhood storyteller, and I'm happy that you are along with me for the ride. See you next time, and until then, let what you've learned today sink in.